be honest with you, these are weird. And especially to someone who has never heard of these before, these are going to be insane sort of things, but these came out as, I think, TV movies, and most of these box sets contain close to 10 episodes each.
So I'm just gonna tell you exactly what the show's about. The show stars young Indiana Jones, first as a kid, then as a teenager, going on different adventures. The first season involves him going around the world and learning about different things. It's kind of boring. The second season involves him joining the Belgian army and fighting in World War I. And then season 3 is kind of in the 1920s and him going on adventures like he does in the movies. So usually you'll find these as a box set. And there's 3 volumes. There's volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. There's no name for volume 1. It's called volume 1. Volume 2 is called The Warriors, and volume 3 is The Years of Change.
The 2 main actors for this show are Corey Carrier and Sean Patrick Flannery, I think is his name. And Corey Carrier played Indy from like 8 to 10, or ages 8 to 10, and then Sean played Indy as like 18 up and such. The Warriors, or let's say Volume 1 is about Indy mainly just going around the world and learning about shit. It's kind of odd. Mainly because you'd think, why is Indy learning about stuff? He's supposed to be punching up bad guys and stuff. Well, he's a kid. And he has rich parents, and they expect highly of him, so they gave him a British tutor, and they send him across the world, yeah! And it's just, it's weird. It kind of gets better from there, and that kind of merges into the Warriors, which I have the opinion that this is Volume 2 of The Warriors is the best part of the series. And we're going to talk about Years of Change later. But the show has a theme, and that's Indy goes around different world to different countries and such during like the early 19th century, or 20th century, early 20th century. And he meets different people. He meets famous people. Like in like the first 2 episodes, he meets Lawrence of Arabia at the pyramids while he's studying Egyptology or something. And he meets, I think it was Teddy Roosevelt, Al Capone, Leo Tolstoy, a few others in here as well. Oh yeah. There's literally one episode where it's a bottle episode where Indy and his dad get trapped on like this platform thing, or this elevator outside a monastery, and all of the monks have to go like, it's like a monastery with monks, and Indy and his dad just happen to be there, and all the monks decide to go in like hibernation for like 2 days. And the thing is, like, the thing that was bringing down the elevator, because Indy and his dad were leaving, I think, like, snaps or whatever, so it's just them dangling for an entire episode, and basically Indy and his dad working out issues, and it's really good, and I just really like it, because it's cute, and it's fun, and that's what Indiana Jones kid episode should be. Indy and his friend Remy, who he meets in Spring Break, which is like episode 7 or 8, and they enlist in the Belgian army so that they can fight in the war, and they just let them. So they become like lieutenants, like an episode later, maybe 2, and it's really good. I just can't praise this show enough. And literally, he meets such people as a German general, who I don't know the name of, Charles de Gaulle. He meets the Red Baron, and this guy who designs German planes. He meets Lenin, for fuck's sake. It's awesome. He meets, Lawrence of Arabia, and some ballet chick. It's awesome. It's great stuff. And that's just the entirety. I think that half the reason why the show exists is to give Indy the chance to meet all of these famous people. He meets Ernest Hemingway. If you don't know who that is, I don't blame you. He's a writer, and he meets him during the war. Then he meets Dracula, and for like a Halloween special. And then he meets all of the allies carving up the Middle East. It's awesome. I dare say that most of these episodes are good. Sure, the kiddie show garbage of the Young Indiana Jones Volume 1, because I'm assuming you're buying the box sets. But just call it Season 1. Season 1 is full of kiddie show garbage, which means that it's kiddie to the max. Indy's, all the kid tropes happen, Indy gets out of this situation and all that stuff, and he's like, I'm sorry, and everyone's like, oh, it's okay, you're a kid, no one cares. And it only kind of gets serious once. Well, it doesn't even really get serious. It's lighthearted fun. And he still meets people that you'd like to meet. And then Volume 2, or Season 2, is the shit. There are no duds in this. This is the best thing ever. It's awesome. And I mean, he meets so many people, and he goes to literally, it's just World War One, but Indy fights in it, and it's awesome. And come on, tell me that you'd never want to see Indiana Jones in an army uniform fighting in World War One in the trenches of Verdun. Yeah, that's right, because that happens. He goes to East Africa and fights against the Germans against some it was awesome. And in Volume 3 or Season 3, he does Indiana Jones stuff. He goes on adventures and he fights. I mean, this show's got everything. It's even got an episode, like Season 2, Episode 4, where he literally goes into the Congo and gets his entire company killed because of disease. And then in my favorite episode is Attack of the Hawkmen, and I'll explain why. For the latter half of Season 2, there is Indy, I think it's either the Attack of the Hawkmen or the episode before it. Indy enlists in the Belgian Secret Service and then gets transferred to the French Secret Service, so then he's not a spy now, and he does spy things. And a lot of the episodes after in Season 2 are about spy things. And it's amazing. This is the coolest shit possible that you could ever want. I mean, he literally goes behind enemy lines, and he beats up bad guys, and he finally does something cool. Like half the time, if you like action, and you come to this for action, and you watch the entire thing in one sitting, you'll basically be asleep until you get to this point where he starts actually beating up he beats up Germans just like he did in the movies, and it's awesome. And it's so cool, and it's the best stuff. It is that right there is like cocaine, and it's beautiful. So, I don't know what's the moral of the story. just watch the show. I mean, come on, it's not that hard. I mean, it's not exactly the greatest. I'll give it that. It's got flaws, and I'll go over those flaws now. Flaws. Every episode in season 1 has a female love interest. The problem is that they get no chance to develop any character traits. So as soon as the episode ends, they're gone from the picture. They don't show up ever again. And that's kind of a thing in Volume 2, except it's not really. It's kind of a thing in Season 2. It's not really, though, because, I don't know, it's not a big deal. He's fighting a war. I think only 2 episodes of major love interests, which is Indy trying to convince his ballet chick that she loves him, or something like that, and then when he was going behind enemy lines in Attack of the Hawkmen to smooch a girl on a train. It was very odd, and it's kind of a problem because, like, here, I'll give you this one scene. So he's trying to go, here's context. He wants to go, his mission is to find this German designer of aircraft so that he can convince him to switch sides to, you know, make planes for the good guys. But, you know, he gets on a train, and then Indy has to get on the train, and then he can't exactly go in to fight or to get to, like, to convince the guy to go with him because there's a bunch of German generals next to this designer guy. So he's like, oh crap. So he has to go sit in, like, just one of the train cars, and there's, like, this little cute girl. She's like, hi. And he's like, he smiles at her, and she smiles back, and that's it. And then, like, halfway through, he has to get up to go, and she's like, what? And then she does nothing because, you know, it's not a real female love interest. And then he goes and he messages the guy, he does the cool spy stuff, and he goes back to his seat, and she smiles at him again when he gets back down. He's like, heh. And then when he gets off the train, there's this guy that, like, one of the guys looks over him, and I'm pretty sure Indy grabs the girl that he was been smiling at for the entire train ride and kisses her so that he couldn't be spotted. And then he, you know, he's like, oh. And then he runs off to go get the bags or whatever. The guy's just like, whoa, all flustered. And then that's it. She gets no other character traits. And she leaves. There's no more of her in the show. This is it. And it's very unnecessary and didn't need to be a thing. They could have easily just not done that. But that's the problem with most of these. And the problem is in season 1, there's not much story. So basically, it's the girls trying to teach Indy about their country or something like that. So they're more of a focus, which means more cringy dialogue from Mr. Lucas himself, because he wrote these things.
Barely a week in the jungle, and already we're leaving our dead behind. How much more painful that their eyes are still alive to accuse us. I've heard it said here that we have less to fear from the bullets of our enemies than from the diseases and parasites with which God has afflicted this land.
I'm pretty sure. So you have to suck that up, and it's really a problem. And I'm pretty sure Years of Change, which is season 3, because there's no war now. So he's gotta go. So that means the women are back in the game, and it's kind of cringy. The second thing, I'm of the opinion that Sean Patrick Flannery sounds not good in this show. And I'll give you an example. I mean, here. Let's look at this.
What will you do to me now, Captain?
Damn it, Sergeant, I can't believe you'd put me in this position.
He sounds like a whiny brat, and that's the point. He's a teenager. You know, there's not much I can do to sway you on whether you should go watch this. I just say do it. You're not going to lose anything.
Every episode of this show is on YouTube, so just go watch that.
You get to, I mean, Warriors is probably the best piece of Indiana Jones media outside of the movies that you'll ever get. Not so much for the other two, but it's cool. And also, there's one thing that I really like. In Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Indy says, when he's talking with Mutt in, like, Peru or whatever, he says,
Pancho Villa.
Technically, I was kidnapped.
Indy makes a casual reference to an adventure that would have easily made a better movie than this one.
well, you did! They did see it! You could have watched it! Because it shows up in this, it shows up in Spring Break Adventure. He gets kidnapped by Pancho Villa, and he meets Remy, this cool character, and I'll get to the characters later. But he shows up in this movie, and it's awesome. He shows up, and he gets kidnapped, and then, like, Roosevelt shows up or something like that, or some person, and then they have to go, and then, like, it cuts back to the army, the U.S. Army, trying to go find Pancho Villa, and it's cool, because it's like cowboys, and it's awesome, and, man, so whoever said that they would have liked to see that, go watch that episode, which is season 1, I think episode 8 or 7, Spring Break Adventure. And you know what's the great part about this? You can find them all on YouTube. You can literally search up Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and you can find all of the episodes for free. And it's great, but I recommend you pay for them, just because you get all those sweet special features.
The characters in, like, the show are, most of them don't appear aside from 2, which, I mean, I guess you could, there's like 5, you could count them on one hand, because there's Indy's tutor, Indy, his mom, his dad, and Remy. Those are the 2 that recur the most. Of course, there are a few others that really show up in 2 or 3 episodes that I'm not going to mention here, because you kind of forget about them, and they don't make any sense to why they're there. So, Remy is Indy's, like, partner in crime, and he shows up at the end of season 1, and he's good. He's a good guy. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure the actor killed himself, or he died. One of the two. The actor's dead. That's the whole point. But he elevates the show. He's the best character, and he's awesome. And he has some good character moments, like him screaming and yelling and getting a girlfriend and owning a coffee shop. It's very, very nice. And then you have Indy's tutor. I guess kinda has a personality. I never liked her. No one else did. She's just there. Indy's mom really doesn't do much. And the problem is that in the movies, Indy's like, hey, don't talk about my mom like that. My mom's awesome. And then, of course, his mom, like, dies. I don't think that happens in this show. Oh, wait, no, she doesn't? I'm not sure. But she doesn't do anything. She really is just kind of there. His dad gets more screen time than her. So it kind of, it doesn't, because, like, everyone says, you know, I wish we could see more of Indy's mom. I was like, well, you can, but there's not much to see. She's just there. She has little to no impact on this boy. And it's kind of sad because when Indy needs, his parents, his dad shows up more than his mom. So it's like, well, kind of disregards the whole fact that Indy praised her so highly in Last Crusade. But Indy's dad is pretty good. The problem is, for him, is in Spring Break Adventure, which is when he basically leaves the show. He starts acting like Sean Connery did at the end, at this beginning of Last Crusade, which means that he doesn't have a personality anymore. So he's just like, Junior, study. it. You're going to be a lawyer someday, my boy. It's so... But before that, he's like... This guy, he's like... I don't know if there's a good character that I could describe him as. What's he like? He's kind of just got this like, I'm right all the time thing, but as soon as shit starts going wrong, he's like, son, do you know how to do this thing? He's like, and then Indy goes, yeah, Dad, I do. And he says, no, you don't. And then, I feel that's a good personification of what he's like. So you'll enjoy. He's the best part of season 1 because the other characters that show up aren't much better. You can take from that what you will. Just watch the show, you'll see what I mean. I'm not going to talk about Lawrence of Arabia or C.T. Lawrence, because he shows up for 2 episodes, and that's not nearly enough to consider him a reoccurring character. I think he shows up twice, maybe 3 times. 3, I think, at the most, and that's not nearly enough. I don't know why, but there are certain actors that showed up in Indiana Jones, then show up in this show, and they don't play the same people. And I think only 2 actors show up, because the whole point of that, episode was Indy has to go on assist this Barcelonian spy agency with trying to get this to do something with this German colonel, and it turns out that the German colonel was, I guess you could say, a double agent, and they didn't know, so they basically just dicked around and they pissed off like this Count of Barcelona, Spania, and then he makes them think that the Count, they make the Count think that the Colonel wants to fuck his wife. So he gets really mad, and then the Count meets the Colonel outside, and like the actor who plays Colonel Dietrich in Raiders of the Lost Ark, he shows up just at the side as a German second, apparently. That's his credit. And he just doesn't do anything. I think he only has like 2 lines. And it's really odd.
Oh, these gentlemen will act as my seconds. Pistols will be perfectly in order. I look forward to seeing you at dawn.
Well, Count, the old bull ring, I understand, is traditional in these encounters.
You're well informed. The sand, you see, soaks up the blood.
I feel like I have to mention the acting in the show, especially in this episode, because I feel like the Count or whatever, you look at his face every time and he looks like he's insane. It's the funniest shit on the planet. I mean, just look at him. Does that face look like the face of a sane person? Didn't think so. I think it's a good idea to note that the production itself was shot simultaneously with season 1 and season 2. They were shot around the same time. Usually shows have a quality increase after a few episodes because they kind of get their footing set in. Well, that isn't the case here for the first 2 seasons because, that they've been made at the same time. So most of the issues we'll see in season 1 are in season 2 for the same amount of time until they start ramping up in quality at the very ends of each season. A lot of the effects in the show are dated. That's not a bad thing. And it's also important to note that this show was basically a test to see if these effects could be used in the Star Wars film, and that's what they did. Because you can tell a lot of the time that there are like matte paintings that make large crowds larger and such, and that's what George Lucas wanted, is to test them out and see if they could work for the new Star Wars movies that he was making. And he did use them. So he did use that effect, and it carries over, and you can tell. Because they do it much better in those movies than they do in this one. In conclusion, I'd say watch it. It perplexes me that not many people know that this show exists, and I want to spread the word, because frankly, you're not missing out on anything. It's got everything you want from Indiana Jones, and it's pretty good. It's got good, you don't have to focus that much on the characters or anything. There's no major arcs. It's just fun. And I think that's the one thing that this show was trying to accomplish, was having fun with the stories that it makes, and the stories that it tells, and the action set pieces that it has, and the characters. It's not the point to have a cohesive story, it's the point to have fun. So go into this, so watch the show with the mindset of having fun, and you will have a good time. If you want to find these, I will again state that they are on YouTube. Go to this channel called Young Indie Restored, and you will find every single episode on here. And this is where I got most of the clips for this, and you can go to here for chronological order, and you can find literally everything. If you want to find the soundtracks, you can look those up yourself. But this channel deserves way more credit than it's given. So just watch it, please. I'd highly recommend it. And it's easy to find, so you have literally no reason not to do this. I'd like to thank you for watching. You can subscribe to me, you can like the video, you can comment and show your support for my channel. This is my first attempt at trying to do one of these video essay type things. Sorry if the footage isn't stellar, because the show's pretty good. Sorry.